with that, we are going to go into the news, Joseph. And look, I think for the last couple of weeks, every time you and I kind of mentally think and plan that this is the week we're going to have to, not have to like it's a chore, but have to out of love, dive into the Mandalorian trailer. And yes, that's kind of the lead story. Still no trailer. A lot of people have thoughts and opinions and grumblings about that. I think here at ForceCenter, certainly don't want to speak for Joseph or Jennifer, that we're okay, just waiting to where it shows up. But Joseph, do you have some sort of are you kind of like me where you're like, I'm waiting, but I'm surprised I'm still waiting?
No, I think when it drops, all of this debate about when it should have dropped will disappear and people will just focus on the content. We got a great question coming up later about trailers and kind of are they necessary and all that. But I think for me too, I think I'll be excited to analyze the content whenever we get to see the content and enjoy the content. But I'm also more curious about like when do they drop it and why, and I'm kind of fascinated with that side of it. And I think if they haven't released it yet, they have their reasons and their strategies, and it'll be interesting to see if it becomes more clear why they're waiting so long when they choose to release it.
Yeah, look, that I'm not an expert on this, and I know some people who are. And I have not communicated with them about it, but I got to mention too, in all their metrics and knowing when, the fact that it's on a streaming service and subscriptions and resubscribers is a factor. There's got to be a window of the right time to get get people really hyped for that. And well, Joseph, we know officially, though in the back of my mind, I thought we already knew this, but this is one of the things that just, the guesses and the predictions and the thoughts and the general news can sometimes just kind of morph into what you thought you knew. But we now know the date of Mandalorian season 2. Yep, not quite the news many wanted, but we now know that October 30th, it's a Halloween trick or treat. That will be the start of season 2. And Joseph, what costume are you going to wear on your couch to watch this?
I think I will probably wear my sweatpants with the picture of the child on them and a whiskey. That will be my cosplay.
That is perfect.
Yeah, no, very excited for the start of it, obviously. What's your cosplay?
My cosplay, well, I do have a very supersized Baby Yoda coffee mug now. I mean, it's one of those, a half a coffee pot full of, space in there. So I'll pour that. I'll make that, maybe some whiskey as well. And then, and get ready. And really, October 30th, doing a quick check of the calendar. When I did not, so that is a Friday night. So that really means we got to assume Thursday night, the 29th.
Right.
You'll be camped on that couch. That's exciting.
Yeah, so this is sounding like it's going to be similar to season 1. That it's officially that, but for me, it's Thursday night. Stay up until midnight here on the West Coast and wait for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm. What did you react to this actual date of October 30th? Like, I love The Mandalorian. I cannot wait for Mandalorian season 2. But I admit, that date was I had some questions about.
I'm curious about your questions. I other than we November, it's roughly around the same time as season 1 I get, but November, and then because of December, which we're going to talk about in a second, of Star Wars in December and kind of that time frame being Star Wars the last 5 years, going earlier in the fall, and I thought of pumpkins, not turkey, when I saw the release date. I'm excited, but I'm curious about your questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably close to the beginning of November to drive, subscriptions for people who had annual subscriptions, started last year on November 11th. So maybe there is some thought of that. But I just wish, I honestly wish it started a week or two earlier because Star Wars, sadly, does not exist in a vacuum. Sometimes I just want to put blinders on and just, have a VR head that's just Star Wars and nothing else. But, that's going to be a really different Halloween. Halloween is on a Saturday, this year. And that is a time where obviously people really want to go have parties. But with the virus, there's a lot of discussion around that. We're heading into the election and, not getting into any of the actual politics of it at all. This is going to be a really weird election, for many, many different reasons that I think is going to really just there's going to be a lot of conversation. This is not a standard election from any perspective of history. So there's a part of me is like, I love Star Wars so much. I love it when fans can just get really excited about something, celebrate something. Mandalorian so far has been something that's been so celebrated. So there's a part of me that was like, move it a little bit away from Halloween and the most controversial and potentially just like abnormal election we've had in my lifetime.
Right.
Maybe a little bit farther away from those two events so we can focus on Star Wars.
Yeah. You're right. Your days out from that election day, which we know it's not just going to be the talk of that election. It's not just going to be contained to that Tuesday. You're right. There might be no perfect time to go, but now I see your point. I see what you may be either after or before, but it's right there. It's right there. So we'll have to spin our heads around real fast.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. It'll be a nice Mandalorian oasis from the noise of a lot of important real world stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Which, hey, Star Wars can still be that oasis. I do want to discuss this, Joseph. We are here. October 30th is around that corner, inside 2 months. So this is what we've kind of had bigger discussions about. A little Star Wars audio think piece, train of thought in the past of no movie, and we get Star Wars for a while is going to be based around TV, but we're actually here. This is it. Star Wars fandom is officially led by a TV show starting October 30th for the foreseeable future. So any changes in your thoughts on that, or is it just kind of surreal to think? I personally am having that like, I was totally prepared for this, but it is kind of weird. This will be the way for a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited about it. I think because in general, Mandalorian first season really recaptured, I think, a lot of people's enthusiasm for Star Wars, where, there are those of us who really, really enjoyed the different movies and obviously people who didn't. But that means that then almost every mention of Star Wars is a real debate, whereas it was so great to be in that window with the first season of Mandalorian, those of us who had immediate access to it, where it was kind of nothing but let's share what part we liked and which character we liked, and let's have a meme that's about celebrating it rather than tearing it down in any way. So I feel like since the Mandalorian started from such a place of celebration, I'm really hoping that that spirit continues into season 2, and that it will maybe heal some wounds of kind of rough discourse if people are continuing to really enjoy Mandalorian season 2. And that's kind of, the main focus of Star Wars. I think, Mando and Galaxy's Edge, they've done so much to support Galaxy's Edge. If, those are kind of the two pillars of Star Wars for a little while, it might be great.
Some great points there. You and I love episode 9, and we love the experience of the sequel trilogy. And I love that. And I love everyone who's on that journey with us. I know that's not the case for everyone. And it's not just, internet trolls or anything that have those opinions. Some real thoughtful Star Wars fans weren't as moved by the last movie or all the movies in some cases, but they were by The Mandalorian. And I do want to stop and just kind of acknowledge that and just celebrate that fact that, hey, look, Joseph, you early on were talking about the Star Wars buffet and what do you want today and what are the choices that are out there for us as Star Wars fans. I think for Mandalorian to maybe have its time in the sun by itself, little less contrast and compare, which I admit I let myself kind of get some of the joy taken away because I felt Mandalorian was being used against people's joy of 9 or experiences around 9. We won't have that. And I'm going to sit and just kind of enjoy it with everyone else. And if there can be a unified front of joy, I mixed in with Galaxy's Edge too, and going down and getting a blue milk in real life when we can. I'm with you, Joseph. I think that's a great point. Just to swim in the joy.
Yeah. And that's my hope, because I think there's also the possibility that now that Mandalorian season 1 came out and now people have a lot of hopes, opinions, predictions, all sorts of different rumors at different levels of confirmation about, which classic characters are going to show up, that I really also hope that people retain that joy and it doesn't turn into, I'm mad at Mandalorian because I had, predetermined in my mind, this is how big Ahsoka's role is. This is what she did. This is how Boba Fett might factor in. And I hope that enough of us can stay just kind of open-minded to, cool, let's, season 1 was great. Just give me whatever you got. And I think as long as it's not the whole season isn't about bringing Toro Calican back to life, who people didn't like in the first season, I think will be good.
Yeah. Expectations. That's the big thing. And speculate responsibly is what we always say here at ForceCenter for a reason, but that's going to be part of the test. But for right now, October 30th is the day that the new journey begins. Season 2 Mandalorian hits then. All right, next headline here. Forget Baby Yoda. We've got actual younger Yoda. Kind of. Well, I mean, 200 years younger. 700 or roughly year-old Yoda is all set to appear in Daniel Jose Older's IDW High Republic Adventures comic series coming out, part of the High Republic publishing line as we enter in this new era. Older describes him as a, quote, journeyman out in the galaxy, doing what he does best, quote, looking out for the young folks. So let's start there, Joseph. He's back. We'll talk about his how he looks, at least in concept art. But what do you think about that description and Yoda? We kind of know him, but now for sure we got him.
I must have missed where there was any hint that he would be there, because I remember the last time we were talking about this, I was concerned that they would kind of ignore him because there's a lot of push and pull in Star Wars about we want new, and this was really, hey, we're going to a brand new part of the timeline. We're going to have different kind of Jedi, and I was really afraid they'd be like, Yoda went on a retreat, or did you know his species, like Odin, do the Yoda sleep? And he's like, I was really afraid that they were going to just kind of sideline Yoda. So just seeing the full confirmation of Yoda, and I guess I missed the partial confirmation. This is some of my most exciting Star Wars news for me personally in a long time, because I'm really excited to see him there. Big picture. The journeyman out in the galaxy doing what he loves best, looking out for the young folks. I absolutely love it. Because when you really kind of look at a lot of Yoda's stories in the movies and in Clone Wars, there's this part of Yoda where he gets weighed down, and he gets very serious, and he gets worried and maybe a little bit crusty and stuck in his ways. But it seems like Yoda at his best is full of empathy and loves to laugh and to try to like see things as beautiful, see things in a new light. And, it makes so much sense that, the scenes where he's with young Padawans in like The Gathering or the great scene in Attack of the Clones of, how wonderful the mind of a child is, that he is the kind of person who just like gets refreshed by, remember when, you're young and everything around you is new and exciting and your mind is really flexible. That's who Yoda wants to be. And then it makes it even funnier when he's like, Anakin, too old. Luke, too old. I don't like old kids. I like those young kids with flexible minds,
I think I'm in on this description, and we're going to get maybe hopefully some more Liam the Shades moments, right? But just in print. And as far as the room, I only remember, and I couldn't pull it out. I couldn't even know. I wouldn't even know where to go pull it out right now. But there was just some reference to, yes, Yoda's there. Something will happen later. But
yes, you're right. I remember that.
Yeah, but there was no indication of when, which is why I'm surprised he's showing up at all right now. But it makes sense based on Daniel Jose Older's description of him and the vibe, and syncing up to what you're just talking about, Joseph. This is a different era. 200 years prior. There's still a lot of exploration. Galaxy kind of being established maybe in some parts, but the Jedi Order's going strong. And I love to think that Yoda is protective and aware of the legacy of the Jedi Order and the future of it, and making sure its future is secure. And that would be his focus during these times. He doesn't need to go be a warrior. Maybe 300 years prior, he was more involved in settling disputes, and I'm sure he'd be involved with that now. And if that happens in these stories, I know they're not going to just be pages upon pages of him sitting down giving lessons. There will be action. Totally aware of that. But the spirit of Yoda 200 years ago, what you're kind of talking about here, Joseph, I'm excited about that and learning more about him, making sure the Jedi Order grows in the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
So the story seems to be, I just love this. Yoda seems to be, I'm paraphrasing a bit here, but seems to be chaperoning a group of Padawans on, as Daniel Jose Older calls it, a forced study abroad program. I have fond memories of many field trips in school. I didn't study abroad, but I do enjoy pack up a lunch, get on the bus. We're heading out to a mission or my hometown. I got to go tour a power plant for a field trip. Imagining a chaperone and Yoda having all the chaperone problems, you know.
Oh yeah,
It'd be fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, the kid who wanders off.
Yeah.
Two kids were fighting with each other. Yeah,
kid not listening. That that could be fun there. Let's talk the
yanking
look
on each other's Padawan braids.
Oh yeah, don't do it. Liam, the braids. There's just generations of Liams in the Star Wars Jedi Order galaxy. Let's talk about the look. We got some concept art, and there, if you go to the StarWars.com article, there's a little bit more information of how they put together this version of Yoda. Concept artist Ian McCaig was brought in to help design the younger looking Yoda. You know, it's 200 years, but it's younger, and others helped finish the look. So what do you think about the look, including the outfit, Joseph? I got to think you enjoy those gold robes.
Oh yeah, no, I love the look. I really like the choice to only make him look a tiny bit, younger. I'm so happy it's not just like, oh, here he is in his 1940s movie star prime. Like, I don't want to see super handsome, smooth Cary Grant Yoda,
like with a mustache, like a little wispy Gable mustache. Clark Gable.
Okay, yeah. Now you sold me. No, I kind of want it to be that that this species of Yoda, the child, and Yaddle, that they are really, really young until they're 100, and then when they turn 100, they're just now 87 years old, just like Earth 87. Like they immediately, there's no in between.
Wispy hair, all of it.
Yep. So I think the aging looks great. The gold robes were really affecting to me. I think the gold robes, because Yoda, I think especially since, in the chronology of the real world, we first meet him in Empire Strikes Back, where everything has that total vibe of simplicity. Be close to nature, be close to the organic. You are making your own food in these rough, natural looking bowls. You live in a tree cave, that there's so much about it that's absolutely back to basics. And then the Jedi Temple itself is obviously ornate, but there's still that great simplicity in the way the Jedi dress and the colors and the way they live. That gold is such a contrast to Yoda. I mean, it was a contrast to see any Jedi dressed with this sort of acknowledgement of higher society, or being sort of, ornate, even though the temple obviously has that, I know, and that's where some of the designs come from. Extra big contrast to see Yoda dressed like that and to see the philosophy that will come from it. Like, why does Yoda feel comfortable in that gold? Why do they move on from that gold? All that stuff excited me.
We're right there at the same spot, because humble Jedi, I still think that's part of it. But everything we've seen so far with the designs just kind of speak of having a little bit of flair, for the gold here from Yoda, and how they'll be able to reconcile that with the heart of the Jedi Order. And does that change? Are we going to learn any more of that, or is this just kind of, hey, this is the way we look, and over time it just kind of morphed? I always think of Anakin just going a little bit different, right? Yeah, it's designed to hint at darkness or whatever you want to say, but I mean, at some point in the story, Anakin was like, I'm going a little different direction, Obi-Wan. I'm going to go this way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe he's able to point to some of this, because I would, all the wonderful stuff we did get about Dooku and Jedi Lost and everything. I wouldn't mind Dooku just kind of being like, no, I'm still a count.
Right. So I still need a higher thread count. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And does anything that happens to Yoda, does he have a luxury item in his hut, in his Jedi temple, quarters that he enjoys, and that years later we know he's glad he chose to go back to a more humble way, or maybe he's sitting on Dagobah going, gosh, I miss my hot plate. I don't know, but I have all these thoughts inspired by just seeing some gold trim on a robe, and I love that.
Yeah, it's so great. All that storytelling potential was there with the other Jedi that we've seen, but it just really drives it home to see Yoda in those gold robes.
Final thought on this here, we did touch upon it a little bit, and your excitement for Yoda showing up is just contagious, quite frankly, and we do love Yoda here at Force Center. But to go from he's coming in later to now, and knowing that this is a new era, but not not so long ago that some of these planets and maybe even more characters could factor in some way. What does it mean to the High Republic era to have Yoda there, Joseph?
Yeah, well, I think for me, it makes it this great Star Wars new and old balance. There's obviously a ton of new in the High Republic. It's the Jedi are in a different place. The galaxy is in a different place. We're being introduced to all sorts of new characters. There's just a ton of new, and that's great. But then we have the kind of the weight of the story we already know that is coming in the future. And it's weird to say we've got the future, which in this scenario is the old. But we do have the weight of the future. And if this, as soon as you include a character like Yoda, your mind starts going to it. So what I'm really interested in and what I'd really like to see is Yoda enjoying the Jedi Order basically working pretty well and getting a picture of, honestly, a little bit more. I go on about justice for the Jedi, but this is like, empathy, sympathy for Yoda in the prequel era when he is making mistakes, that this might be a great opportunity to see in Yoda's mind, what is he clinging to? In the prequel era, is he thinking we're going through a really rough patch? We've got this prophecy. Dark side seems to be growing. The Sith have returned, but he has such faith that they'll make it through that dark period to get back to a period like the High Republic, like the one we're going to get to see him in. I guess the short way of saying it, now that I've said it the long way, is just I'm excited to see Yoda living in the good times of the Jedi. So you can imagine him going, we're going to get back to it.
Yeah, no, yeah. And analyzing what the good times really were, and I want it to be mostly good. I don't want to have a ton of need for you and I to really ramp up the Justice for the Jedi campaign that's been so close to your heart, Joseph. I do want to see it functioning really well, and that this is how the Jedi deal with challenges that are on the outside and not all internal. But yeah, to see that, I don't think Yoda's wrong. So I'm not saying this is a direct comparison, but hey, in my day we used to do this type of talk, and then you go back to that, and yeah, there were some good things, but maybe a lot more bad than anyone cared to let on about. So I don't know that you could go that way, but I like the just dancing in the golden era of the Jedi is something that I would love to see Yoda get to experience. You're right.
Yeah. And then the last thing I will say to contain myself is it's also important to remember what part of the storytelling Yoda's actually in, which Daniel Jose Older is a great writer. I think has a great sense of humor. So I think that part of Yoda will come out. But this is the IDW High Republic Adventures series. So it's not like you can't do a ton of deep thoughts, but those are lean, fast, action-oriented comic books that are for readers of all ages. So I just want to check myself when what the philosophy of Yoda. We'll definitely get it, but we'll get it in short bursts of word balloons. Not this isn't an 800-page novel going into Yoda's head about his personal Jedi philosophy, right?
Yeah. The gold robes of Yoda, an inside look at the Jedi at the center of it all. Yes, we'll do that. Yeah, no, great point. Actually, we talk about expectations and speculating responsibly. That's also an important point there. And final little note here, adding this one here on the fly, Joseph, looking at that design, it's an art piece, it's concept art. I definitely need that figure.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Man, yeah, I would borderline start thinking of asking a custom figure maker to make that one.
Absolutely. Speaking of figures, final headline of the day, Empire at 40 Funko Pops. That's right. We are in the year of the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back, and Funko, still going strong. They have released, or at least announced, some releases of Funko Pops honoring the Empire Strikes Back. Here's what we have. Han slicing open a Tauntaun. Chewie covered in a little snow, screaming at a Probot. A Wampa with a bone, and Leia at the command center. These are solid. Anyone or anything that you would still want in this collection, Joseph?
You mean besides what's been listed?
Yeah.
Yeah, they said. I think the article said that there's still one more to reveal. So I had that fun guessing game.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is what they would release, but the one I would want is I would want, Force Spirit Obi-Wan in the snow with collapsed, wounded Funko Pop Luke reaching out to him.
Bloody Luke. Okay, I like that. Have they done a Yoda in the backpack? I think I don't know.
They have, but this is also Hoth based. So I think they got one more in the Hoth series, they don't have a Luke. So I think that there's got to be some kind of Hoth Luke action going on here.
Good point. Then I definitely think we need just General Raikan grimacing that Han's leaving. Hate to lose you, Solo. We need that Funko Pop. Really good.
Lovely.
Why do we talk about this when we rank our figures over on Star Wars Ranked? Why do we just love just specific Star Wars scenes and moments in our Star Wars toys and collectibles? What's that? What's that pool, Joseph? Come on, Dr. Scrimshaw. Tell me why I love the Chewie covered in snow screaming at a Probot so much.
Well, I think we talk about our love of action figures has this very deep, fundamental human psychology where when a thing physically exists, there is a power to making the idea, the concept, into just a physical object, and that obviously happens when you just, hey, it's Hoth Leia, and that's the idea of Hoth Leia. Once you have the image of Hoth Leia also staring at the command screen, that becomes a different idea that we're celebrating, right? Mm-hmm. You and I have both talked recently a lot about liking that intensity of Leia in that scene in Empire Strikes Back, where she is not willing to leave the command center. It is one of the times where we get to really truly see her as a leader of the rebellion. And suddenly that this Funko Pop is that idea. It's not just the general idea of Hoth Leia, which can branch out to meaning lots of different things. It's that specific idea and that specific emotion that is now physical and real, and we can hold it.
Yeah, we just react to those things, and it's something that I on a playground in the 80s, I might have thought I was the only person moved by that specific moment or that reference. And then later in life, you start connecting. Did you love when Chewie had little sprinkles of snow on him? Oh, I love that too. Wow, I thought it was the only one. And the connective threads grow stronger. I did just think of another one. I want Veers staring down at a little Darth Vader hologram.
Oh, yeah. We love our action figures and Funko Pops with holograms, so why not? I also just think that that great Star Trek The Next Generation episode where Picard encounters the alien whose culture communicates in shared storytelling, Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. I think we are getting closer to that in society, like with things like GIFs or with things like movie scenes. They're encapsulations of little ideas. We're getting to that point where we are using little bits of storytelling as a language because we all kind of know what they mean, and you can almost you could almost have a cultural conversation and work something out with if you weren't allowed to speak and had access to like 50 Funko Pops.
Yes, centuries from now they'll look back. They spoke with plastic, large-headed toys.
Their language is the bobblehead language of the humans of the mid 21st century.
So look for those soon, and look for maybe other parts of Empire Strikes Back celebrated in Funko as well. So we are done with the news. Before we do, we want to do what we always do. Have an audiobook recommendation, an audiobook you can try out on us. And Joseph, what do we have?
We are recommending the same book we've been recommending for the last couple of weeks because we will be getting to discussing it soon, and that is Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising by Timothy Zahn.
To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter for your free audiobook. All right, we're going to take a quick break, reset, and on the other side, it's your questions here today on ForceCenter.